FNaF World was released on January 26, 2016, nearly 8 years ago now, and today it stands as one of the community's favourite entries in the entire series, with a myriad of challenges to undertake, some pretty cute graphics, and it's overall just a breath of fresh air from what you'd usually get in the Five Nights at Freddy's series. But its reputation wasn't always this way, as back in the day most people outright hated FNaF World, and due to the many negative reviews from fans of the series, FNaF World was outright removed from Steam, but was later re-released on GameJolt for free. And even Scott Cawthon himself was disappointed in FNaF World, and this partially contributed to its removal from Steam. But why did everybody hate FNaF World back then, and is it really that bad? That's the question I'll be answering for you today, but first, I'd like to ask you to subscribe. You can always undo it later if you think I'm a knob in the future. But without further delay, let's answer the question, why did the community hate FNaF World? But first let's talk about the gameplay. So FNaF World is a semi-open world RPG game which is really different from the rest of the series, which pretty much solely focuses on the horror aspects. There are 6 main locations in FNaF World. I'm saying 6 based on the number of teleport areas we have in game. We've got Fazbear Hills, Choppy's Woods, Dusting Fields, Lilligale Lake, Black Tomb Graveyard, and Pinwheel Circus. However, there are plenty of other places to explore around, such as the various mines, of which there's usually 1 per area. Then there's the, I'm gonna call it the Underneath, which is this really weird looking area that you use at a few points in the game to travel around the map. But if you go too deep, then you'll actually encounter Old Man Consequences, which unlocks one of the endings for the game. Then within the Pinwheel Circus, there's the Pinwheel Funhouse, which is necessary for unlocking the final boss of the game. Now throughout your journey you'll encounter plenty of bosses that you'll have to defeat in battle. Now the battle system itself is interesting at best, and by interesting I mean it's not great. It's kinda janky and could certainly use a hell of a lot of work, but it's still effective and usable. Now you can equip up to 8 characters in your party, which will be split across 2 teams of 4 during the battles. And here is where one of my only complaints about the battle system comes in, and that is the timing of the attack. For one, whichever character gets to go first is seemingly random, and so is the order the characters get to attack in, which I don't really like, as I'd prefer if it always went in the same order even if the starting character was random. And at some point you can be waiting ages for a single character to attack, and that can get you especially against some of the faster bosses like Overclock on hard mode. Luckily for you though, dear viewers, there are some upgrades that you collect throughout your playthrough. It's time we talk chips and bites. No, I'm not talking about food. I wish I was, though. I love food. Oh yeah, and there's armor too. Starting off with bites, which are these little creatures, or sometimes bombs, that you can purchase from the various lolbit shops which are placed throughout each of the areas. Some of the best bites you can get are the UFOs and laser eyes that specifically drain boss health bars. Now there are 2 particular bites which aren't acquired through the lolbit shops, and these are the Fan and the Pearl. The Fan is unlocked by collecting all 40 characters and will always be equipped without taking up a bite slot. Its main ability is at random intervals it will fire off a bunch of lasers to deal massive damage to enemies. Then the Pearl is unlocked by completing the DD's fishing hole minigame, where if you successfully collect the Pearl in the minigame it will also appear in battles and boost healing. Then chips are found in chests all around the game. Some of them however are only found out of bounds. Now I didn't mention this earlier, but at certain locations in FNaF World you can move in a particular way to walk just straight out of bounds. Now this isn't a glitch, and it's the only way of getting some of these strongest chips in the game, but you definitely need to be prepared, as there are some glitched enemies in these areas that can very easily tear your team apart if you're not careful. Lastly, the armor is purchasable from Mendo the Endo in the first area of the game. There are 3 tiers of endoskeleton for you to purchase that will boost the defense of all of your characters. However, don't get too hopeful about getting the maxed out armor unless you want to grind out for hours and literally buy nothing else. Now that's the gameplay all lined out, but before we can talk about anything else, I'd like to ask you to go ahead and join the Discord. I'm trying to get more people on there, and it's the best place to keep up with my personal antics, and a nice place to chat if you feel fit. Back to FNaF World though, let's talk about the endings, of which there are 8 in total, which I'm going to run you through now. Starting with the normal route ending, which is pretty self-explanatory. You just have to play and beat the game on normal mode. Try to get more information for this one, but it's a very simple concept, and you'll get a Security Owl trophy on the main menu after completing it. Moving on, we have the hard mode ending, which is pretty much the same as the normal mode ending, except it's harder and you have to kill Scott at the end. The next ending is the 4th glitch ending, or as I like to call it, the consequences ending. Now to unlock this one, you need to explore the glitch world and go down to the very bottom level and meet Old Man Consequences. Now I hate unlocking this ending because travelling through the Underneath really hurts my eyes, and I can't point out exactly why. Now as I said prior, you have to talk to Old Man Consequences to unlock the trophy as well as the ending. Alternatively, you can drown yourself as a secret ending. You don't get a trophy for this though, you just get Oh no. Sent to a hospital? Anyways, the next ending is a lot more pleasant on my eyes, and it's the Universe End ending. You have no idea how many takes it took for me to say that sentence. But for this ending, you have to place the Fredbear character at the front slot of your party and go talk to the Fredbear NPC. Then the top half of both Fredbears will... The Chipper's Revenge ending involves you defeating a secret boss called Chipper's Revenge. He can be found in the mysterious mines in Choppy's Woods, and is based off the character Chipper from Chipper and Sons Lumber Company, which for those of you who don't know was the last game Scott Cawthon made before Five Nights at Freddy's. And it was actually the negative reviews for Chipper and Sons, mostly describing the characters being pretty lifeless and creepy, that actually put the idea of making a horror game in Scott's head. That horror game ended up becoming Five Nights at Freddy's and was Scott's last hurrah as a game dev. The rest is history. A very long history actually, so if you're interested in me making a video on Scott's game development history, his old movies, and everything leading up to Five Nights at Freddy's in general, then leave a comment down below. Now, the final ending of the original game is called the Clock ending, and is in my opinion the hardest to get, just because of how many specific steps there are just to unlock it. Basically, whenever Fredbear talks, you ignore all of the dialogue until the very end when the done button appears. Do not click this button, instead wait a few seconds and a glitched out 8-bit Fredbear will appear, talking about puppet masters and clocks. Now, there are 7 total clocks for you to find across the game and a bunch of minigames that you'll have to complete first. But after you unlock all 7 clocks, defeat Pork Patch and collect the key, then you must head to the northern area of Choppy's Woods, which is only accessible through Lilligere Lake. There should be a key lock here with a warp behind it. If you enter that warp, you should see 2 yellow eyes and the text, "We are still your friends, do you believe that?" This is reminiscent of the ending minigame of FNaF 4 where the crying child supposedly dies. Speaking of which, he actually becomes a trophy on your home screen after this. But the final ending here comes from Update 2, better known as the Halloween update, and involves Chica's Magic Rainbow. Now, I'm past 30 seconds in, so I can say that I f***ing hate this f***ing stupid goddamn f***ing rainbow! Now that I've let out my frustrations, to get this ending you just have to beat the Chica's Magic Rainbow boss fight at the end of Update 2, where she then becomes a trophy on the home screen. FNaF World Update 2 released on May 13th, 2016 and was one of the largest turning points of FNaF World's reputation online. But the first thing I think we should mention is that the gameplay in the overworld that you've been seeing throughout this video isn't how the overworld originally looked upon the initial release. Instead of the cute 3D design, it used to look like this. It's really simple but a little boring to look at in my opinion, and the look of the overworld is arguably one of my favourite aspects of FNaF World. Although I do see the merits of the original design, it's just not my cup of tea. Now, there was also a secret cutscene added in this update which featured Henry, Emily and Circus Baby too. Essentially, inside one of the large buildings in the Fazbear Hills area, you'll find this man at a desk. He talks about creating something and names it Baby, the same name as the character from Sister Location. The lights then go out and green eyes appear, yet again the exact same as Baby. She tells everyone,
"The show will begin momentarily. Everyone, please stay in your seats."
before the lights flicker on, and then the man is dead at his desk, his blood pooling out everywhere. And there's nothing else here for us really. We can only leave and then we can't return unless we open a brand new save file. Now we can move on to the main meat of Update 2, the new backstage area, which can be accessed through a secret path in the trees. Now back here you can find a total of 8 new characters unlocked through playing 4 different minigames. I'm going to quickly cover each of the minigames in a bit of detail, then each of the new characters and their unlock requirements. The first minigame I'll be telling you about is Foxy Fighters, which is pretty similar to that one Cuphead boss, you know, the one with the plane. Except here you control Foxy and are accompanied by Toy Chica, Nightmare Chica, and JJ as NPC characters. You can move up and down or to the sides and shoot at enemies. Speaking of which, we have Flying Mech Crabs, Parachute Gear Rats, Jetpack Chop and Rolls, and then Soul Dozer. More on him pretty soon. Now if you beat this minigame with an A rank, then you'll unlock Nightmare Balloon Boy as a character for your party. Then by beating the game with any other rank, you'll unlock Jacko Chica. Now the final boss of this minigame is Soul Dozer, who I mentioned prior. He is actually a recurring character from one of Scott's old projects called The Pilgrim's Progress. Then the next game is Foxy.exe. This one opens up with a screen mimicking a Windows desktop, well, an old one anyway. There'll be an app in the top corner labelled Foxy.exe. Double click this to start the game properly. Once you actually get into the game, you will play as Bonnie and simply have to walk across the screen. Now there are a couple of obstacles in the forms of weird deformed cats which can kill you. So hide behind some of the obstacles and you'll be okay. Also, you have 3 lives in this minigame, so be careful, you really don't want to go back to the start. Now once you've completed the minigame, you'll unlock Night Marion, who is actually essential if you want to beat the final boss of Update 2. FNaF 57 Freddy in Space is the next minigame, and it's a side-scrolling platform game, where you have to play as Freddy Fazbear to shoot aliens, jump across platforms, and collect cupcakes to unlock power-ups. Now on the topic of power-ups, there are 9 total, and each will make Freddy's blaster stronger, faster, and have a longer reach too. Now there's quite a lot of enemies in this minigame, with the only important one being the final boss, Scott's head. Yep, it's just Scott Cawthon's disembodied head in a jar. How quirky. Now, upon defeating Scott Cawthon, you can unlock 3 different characters depending on how you played. If you collected no power-up cupcakes at all, you'll unlock Coffee, a returning character from one of Scott's old projects called The Desolate Hope. Alternatively, if you collect every single cupcake power-up, then you unlock Purple Guy, who is actually one of the most overpowered characters thanks to his slasher attack, which can actually do 99,999 damage if it lands. This can literally one-shot anything and is more powerful than Unscrew. Lastly, if you beat the game under any other circumstances, like you collect a couple of cupcakes but not all of them, then you will unlock Jack O'Bonnie upon completing the minigame. The final minigame is called Chica's Magic Rainbow, and is an unfair rage game. Essentially, you're followed around by Chica's Magic Rainbow, who just mocks you the entire time.
You'll get it eventually.
And you have to dodge a bunch of obstacles. Now you can die 33 times before losing the minigame, and you'd be surprised how many times you will reach that number. Now there are 2 possible characters that you can unlock through beating this minigame. Firstly, if it takes more than 3 minutes, you'll unlock Anim Dude, who is the boss of FNaF World's hard mode, as well as Scott Cawthon's avatar online. But if you manage to beat it in under 3 minutes, then you'll unlock Mr. Chipper himself, who is just the main character from Chipper & Sons Lumber Company. Now after completing all of the minigames, you can progress into the Geist Lair, which is a maze area filled with plenty of areas that all originated from the joke release of FNaF World, these being Neon, P-Goon, and Jangle. Now at the northernmost area of the map, you can find Purple Geist, who is another character from the joke release of FNaF World, and he's presented as the final boss. But upon interacting with him and getting into a battle, Chica's Rainbow falls down and crushes him. This sparks one of the most irritatingly difficult boss fights I have ever played. Now this fight is practically impossible without Night Marion, as during the fight you will very quickly lose and drain health. Now Night Marion has an ability called Bubble Breath, which will encase your entire team in bubbles and prevent them from losing health to this draining effect. You'll also want most of the Halloween update characters to even stand a chance at defeating Chica's Magic Rainbow. Now if you manage to defeat the boss, then you'll unlock not only a trophy on the main menu, but a short cutscene which I'll play for you now.
You cheated! Besides, didn't your mommy ever tell you that you can't count a rainbow? The next time you see a rainbow in the sky, that is me coming to your house!
Now we've talked about everything that the gameplay has to offer, so I think that we should talk about my thoughts on FNaF World. So it's a very interesting game in the series. It was the very first spin-off from the mainline games, and it deviated very heavily from everything Five Nights at Freddy's related at the time. Now it was disliked by a majority of the community for a long while, which I think is because of how it deviated from the series, and it released off the back of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, which was not only supposed to be the second ending to the franchise, but also the scariest game to have released up to that point. Although I disagree with that sentiment, but in recent years we've had plenty of new Five Nights at Freddy's YouTubers surface and beat FNaF World in hundreds of different ways, these being people like Afton, the Dapper Waffle, and even Astral Spiff himself. And I think those people doing those sorts of challenges and bringing light onto FNaF World once again massively changed the community's views on the game. And these days it's not only one of my favourite FNaF games, but one of the community's favourites too. But that's all for FNaF World, and for this video too. Now if you want to see me come up with a FNaF World challenge and complete it for a video in the near future, then subscribe, as well as drop your challenge ideas down in the comments. I'll choose my favourite one and announce it over on my community tab soon enough. And if you want to see another video of mine and hear more about my opinions on the entire FNaF series, then go watch my recent tier list video, where I ranked every single mainline Five Nights at Freddy's game alongside the fanverse and all of the many spin-off games. Also, join the Discord if you want to take part in some of the events I've got planned for the near future. But until next time, maybe go and check out this video which I've picked out for you, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Have a great day everyone.